The race for choosing the next UK Prime Minister is on. Conservative leaders are now switching sides after the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson withdrew from the contest. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak is the favourite to replace Liz Truss as UK new Prime Minister. Now, according to reports, presently 180 out of 357 Tory members of Parliament have gone public with their support. Rishi Sunak has the support of 155 members of Parliament. And 25 Tory members of Parliament are backing his contender, Penny Mordaunt. If Mordaunt fails to reach the threshold support of 100 members of Parliament, the contest for next UK Prime Minister will be over by later today, with Rishi Sunak declared as a winner. However, if Mordaunt does reach 100 nominations, there will be an indicative vote among Conservative members of Parliament. Earlier, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was expected to regain his former post, but he pulled out of the race as he sets eye to deliver a Conservative victory in 2024. He also added that the country and the Conservative Party needed unity. Rishi Sunak praised Johnson for his leadership. He said United Kingdom will be always grateful for Johnson's actions during the COVID pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the main opposition Labour Party have reiterated their call for a general election. The Scottish National Party also echoed Labour's call for a general election. Our correspondent Alex Aizat is now joining us live from London. Hi Alex, what are the chances that Penny may get at least 100 members of Parliament to back her bid to compete for the prime ministerial position? Bleak or hopes are rife?
Well, her own team keeps on putting out there that she's not out of the game yet, that she's still going to be pushing forward. They say that they're confident that she'll get those 100 members. They're also saying that it's time that there was a little bit of a playoff between Rishi. Shouldn't just go straight into the role as Prime Minister, and Penny Mordaunt should get the opportunity to at least get across what her policies are. There's been a few polls that have been out today that suggest that she is thought of as quite a trustworthy individual amongst the public, but the public don't get to have their say in this vote, and it really does come down to those MPs that have to back either her or Rishi Sunak. And at the moment, Rishi Sunak is flying ahead. Of course, he went through all of that hustings with Liz Truss, so a lot of people do quite understand what he wants to bring, and it does seem that he will be bringing fiscal stability, which is really desperately needed at this moment. And as you rightly say, if she doesn't get those 100 votes by this afternoon, then Rishi Sunak will go forward and potentially become the UK's next Prime Minister.
Alex, Rishi Sunak is getting support from the members of Parliament, like you mentioned there, but what are some of the sentiments from the British public about him becoming their next Prime Minister?
It's, well, obviously Boris Johnson, who was in the running until last night, so it's been quite a push to hear what people have to say about Boris Johnson. And Rishi Sunak hasn't really been on a lot of people's minds, but he does seem like a stable character. During the hustings again with Liz Truss, a lot of general public actually wanted Rishi Sunak to go forward. They believed he'd been in Parliament and ahead at the front, taking us through COVID, and he was the person to help lead the country going forward. So it's likely that now, if there's going to be a fight-off between Penny Mordaunt and Rishi Sunak, that they're more likely to be backing Rishi Sunak's corner. Generally, the public are kind of on a little bit of an edge here. Some of them do want a general election. They're calling for this change to happen quickly. There's a lot of distractions this year. We've had a lot of prime ministers. We've also had the cost of living crisis and the war in Ukraine. A lot of things are happening, and the people just want to be heard. And I do feel that actually a lot more people would be leaning towards having a general election if that was a possibility. But it is unlikely to happen, even though we do understand that a few backbench MPs could potentially go into a no confidence vote with Labour, potentially SNP and Lib Dems. But that's all up in the air at the moment.
Alex, finally, there's something important that you mentioned there, the general election. Why is the Labour Party adamant on holding general elections?
Well, of course, they're going to say that they are the opposition party. They don't have any real right to call a general election. That would be down to a no confidence vote for the majority party, which would be the Conservatives. So unless a lot of backbenchers or former cabinet members now come forward and add their numbers to that no confidence vote, then it's unlikely a general election will be able to be pushed through. And Labour is always going to be the opposition to the Conservatives. You know, they are wanting to govern themselves. But when we hear about Keir Starmer and he talks through many of the issues that we have with the Conservative member parties over the past few years, he never actually does quite put in place what his policies are, how he would change things. It's always easier to say big gracious words when you're not in charge, but ultimately it comes down to this country has a lot of debt and they have borrowed a lot of money in a short term. So what's going to happen? We need some actual answers about how we're going to move past this, and calling a general election is just another way to save face, but it's unlikely to happen. We need to move past this. We need unity. We need some policies and some decisions made.
Live from London, our correspondent Alex Aizat. Thank you. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.